Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s giving their perspective on the games that we love and the story behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Well, we have a lot of topics to get into today, as usual. And to start it off, Purdue had a huge upset against Ohio State. They won by 29, and the Ohio State, they were in the red zone 5 times, ended up with only two field goals. And one of the biggest issues with that I've seen with them is like how their secondary has given up a ton of big plays.
Yeah.
And they've given up 35 plays of 25 plus yards this season. And David below, he had an efficient 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Haskins had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. But it always felt as though, Ohio State, like they barely got by Minnesota. It seemed as though they were kind of like squeaking out these close wins, but eventually it culminated into this, which was, a disaster in terms of how many like self-inflicted errors that they had and like the costly penalties.
Yeah.
So with this upset, what were your kind of your big takeaways, and did you like envision a upset of this big?
I did not. Just giving the point of Ohio State's offense was clicking on all cylinders. And
Right.
I think a good point to make, Purdue hasn't beaten a ranked team since 1980. And it happened to be the same team they beat last week. And Ohio State was number 2 back then.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a crazy ordeal for them to beat them. Not only beat them, demolish them on both sides of the football. And I think it started with the Ohio State Buckeyes defense. It was so many missed tackles that was displayed the entire game, from the front four, especially from the secondary. Some of those second chance plays, yak as they call it, yards after catch.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of them that game. It was a lot of missed tackling. They did get to the quarterback. They did rattle him a little bit, show different blitzes, but the secondary once again let them down. Too many missed tackles, too many mistakes on offense. Him, throwing the ball into different coverages where you should not have thrown the ball. Check down, get what the defense is giving you. They didn't capitalize. And you look at Purdue's offense. Let's specifically look at one player, their running back. He went off for 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards. The run game was wide open. I don't know what was going on with their defense. Maybe they played down to their level. Well, Purdue said, we got another level. We got extra levels for you. So they proved a point. And that point was the Boilermakers are here to play, man. To play with us. But no, it was a great game. Great game for Purdue.
Yeah, it really was. And like one of the things with Ohio State is when they've had these upsets against, like, I think Iowa last year, they're not just like, nail biters. They're like really like lopsided wins for the other team. And it seems as though like the minute errors that they kind of accumulate over the season, they can end up in a big loss. In terms of them going forward, obviously, like they still have the opportunity to be Big Ten champions, and the Michigan game is obviously like the biggest in terms of what the Big Ten champion will look like. But what do you foresee for them in terms of have you kind of lost trust in them in terms of winning the Big Ten, or is there another team that you kind of like over them right now?
No, I think I still have Ohio State winning the Big Ten just because of the previous history. They always lose to a team that they should never lose to, and then they go on to beat everyone still for the Big Ten championship and be the reputation.
So the reputation that they build up is kind of what you're banking on.
Yes, I don't think they went undefeated since 2015 when they won the national championship. So it's the past couple years. That's what they've done. They still have the opportunity to go to the playoffs and to win the Big Ten. I'm still not big on Michigan. I think Ohio State can beat Michigan, even the mistakes they did with Purdue. I think they played down to their level a little bit. It was a lot of stories coming out with Nick Bosa not, coming back focusing on. It's a lot of distractions. Still distractions for your head coach, Urban Meyer. They have to calm it down, get back together, get that offense running again. And the secondary, it starts with the front four. Running lanes were open. They got a couple sacks, but it starts in the trenches. That starts at number 4. Start with the front four. So I still have Ohio State beating Michigan or just winning the whole ordeal, the whole thing, the Big Ten. I don't see anybody touching them.
Yeah,
that was a lucky,
And it's gonna be rare for teams to go undefeated. Like you're outside of Alabama and maybe Clemson.
Well, Alabama might lose. Hey,
LSU,
LSU, Auburn.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying there are always some type of roadblock that a team's going to face, whether it be a rivalry game or a game like Alabama's about to face in a couple of weeks against LSU. So I definitely feel as though it's weird because even though this was such a bad loss, I've kind of almost come to expect that Ohio State's going to have just like this really unorganized, just out of whack, just out of sorts type of performance where they're going to get blown out. They're not going to look sharp. And in a few weeks, they'll win their next 3 games or whatever, and then they'll beat Michigan. And Michigan has looked much improved. We're going to get to them later, but I still like the talent on Ohio State. I still like Haskins. Even Chase Young on the defense, even though they lost Bosa in the middle. Like, I just still like what they have to offer more than other than Michigan, really, and that's kind of where I'm standing with it as well.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Just a mishap. Well, not even mishap, but just a lot of mistakes that was made during that game for both sides of the football. I look to see what Urban Meyer does to correct those mistakes on both sides of the football. But Ohio State
like the cartwheel, that type of play. I'm just like, okay, like this is it just was an accumulation of just like mental errors, self-inflicted penalties. But that was like the pinnacle of just like, this is just not their night. When a defender just cartwheels into the kicker. I mean, like that really was like, if you really want to just error that really like summarized the night, that was it for them. Transitioning to Clemson and Alabama, they both had pretty much dominant, resounding wins. And but before we get to that, if there's an early Heisman pick or an early Heisman standout for you, who would it be right now?
Definitely Tua, from quarterback from Alabama. Yeah. He stands out on all levels, all everything from the passing score.
Every checkpoint he has. Every checkpoint.
He's not a tall, big guy, but he has all the tangibles that you want in a quarterback. He's smart. He's decisive. He's accurate. He knows how to work the pocket. He trusts his offensive line, even though sometimes they do allow a couple sacks, like in the Mizzou game. But definitely Tua, all down.
Yeah.
All hands down.
Yeah. And one of the concerns that I think were there was the defense of the secondary, and how like that really was going to be like a work in progress. And they had kind of periodically given up big plays earlier in the year, but now they're like a top 5 pass defense. And obviously with that offense and how potent that is, like that just adds on to what they already have. And also
Alabama.
What?
We're talking about Alabama secondary.
Yeah, Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah. But with, Clemson on the other hand, I think they're number 2 in sack rate, number 3 in havoc rate, with the pass breakups, the picks, and tackles for loss. And I know you weren't high on Lawrence, but the reason I was really high on Trevor Lawrence is because I think the arm talent that he has is not as good as Tua, but it's kind of close. And to me, like that's an element that I think like the downfield throws that he's so effective at is another thing that's really been impressive to me with him. But with both those teams separating themselves, I don't know which one you want to start with. Do you feel like these two teams are separating themselves, or would you say Alabama's doing it more?
Are you saying from the entire pack of the NCAA, or are you talking about their respective?
I mean, like when we're talking about the elite
conferences?
teams. I mean, like when we're talking about.
I don't think so. Just given,
I know LSU is still, is definitely still high in the mix.
Yeah, and it's a couple of teams that can put a blemish on Alabama's record, but I guess I'll start with Clemson. I didn't say I wasn't high on Trevor Lawrence. I just thought that being a freshman, sometimes being in that spotlight, in the trenches, that hot spot doesn't pan well for freshman quarterbacks.
Right.
And that's shown in previous years and this year too. So I know he has a super big arm. He's most accurate on the deep balls, but I'm just not big on the entire offense when they go into an opponent that has a great defense like a Alabama, like a Georgia, like a LSU, those teams who have good defenses who bring the pressure. Especially Florida as well. They blitz a lot on third and second downs. They bring a lot of pressure. So I'm not sure if they can handle that. Can he handle that? But I would say they're pushing away from the ACC. Clemson is the best ACC team this year. I'll give you that.
It's not even close.
Not even close. But to pull away from other teams, I don't think so, because I think LSU can beat Clemson. I think Florida could beat Clemson. Alabama could beat Clemson. A lot of teams
I don't know about Florida.
Florida can. How the defense is playing, I think they will be up. It'll be an upset. I think they'll bring a lot of pressure, a lot of package to Trevor Lawrence. I don't think a team has done just yet. And I think the secondary is better than any secondary he's played so far, even at NC State. But going to Alabama.
You're high in Florida.
Of course I'm high on Florida because I pay attention to them the most because it's my favorite team. But I think Alabama for sure has broke away from the pack since game one. Since last year winning
the Red Sea
championship. Winning the championship last year with the two style of quarterbacks, two of finishing it all for Jalen Hurts. They pulled away from the pack, but not as much as they're not invincible. They can be beat. We'll see that against LSU. We'll see that at SEC championship. We also see when they play Auburn, their rival, which they always play well. They beat them last year. But the talent across the board is unbelievable. I really hate Alabama from their recruiting, but people want to go there. They have better talent than all teams combined. That's all team there.
You have always I don't know when this story is going to come out or this breaking news is going to come out, but
what's that?
In a couple of years, you're talking about how you feel as though in terms of all the scandals that happened with the NCAA, how Alabama, I don't know.
It will never come out.
I'm just saying, if it ever does come out, you heard it on Full Scope. But anyways,
exactly. Look, they'll never slip because they have their ducks in a row. They have people in their pockets. I'm telling you, all colleges do it. You see in basketball. Basketball is getting highlighted more because guys can leave and go to the NBA after the first year. It's kind of different in NFL. So I think that's why it's known spotlight on the NBA. I mean, spotlight on the NCAA football, but that's another story.
Yeah,
that is another story.
So you talked a lot about LSU. I know that game is about another week away, but what do you like? What are some of the what is like one matchup or one just sub point in that game that you think is going to be key, or just kind of how do you envision that game?
They're going to make Tua beat them. And I know that sounds silly because Tua can do it, but they're going to make Tua – it's super hard to run on LSU. They're pretty good on run stop. The secondary, I think, is good too. But I think they're going to throw different packages for Tua. They're going to blitz him a lot, test that offensive line, see if they're really that good. I love Leatherwood. He's from Pensacola, Florida, played at Washington. Great right guard, but he has some tendencies where he pivots wrong. He goes the wrong different ways. His hands placement is off. He's a liability. I think LSU will go there and make some adjustments for them. I think they will bring a different element to the game because I don't think Alabama has saw that just yet. And I want to see if Alabama is in a full game team. If they get hit in the mouth the first quarter, second quarter, can they win? Can they close out? And I think LSU can do that. I think LSU can bring that pressure to them.
To be honest, that's the one thing we haven't seen from Tua yet is how can he be in like an adverse situation? Like, with Patrick Mahomes against Denver, a few weeks ago, down 10 in the fourth, and he responded perfectly. I don't know if Alabama is going to be in a position like that, but down double digits in the fourth quarter on the road, and Tua has to respond. That's really going to be interesting to see like how that happens, because it's eventually going to happen in the playoff in the SEC championship, because both should be high leverage situations for them in terms of the opponent. But do you have confidence do you have confidence in the fact that he can respond to that, or are you still like iffy? Because it sounds like you're kind of on the fence. Like, they're obviously great, but we just still haven't seen that adversity yet.
I mean, you just look at their schedule. Their schedule, it hasn't like faced adversity just yet. Like you said, it's going to be the tail end against LSU, Auburn in the SEC championship. We haven't seen that. We've seen blemishes in the championship where he gets sacked the first play of the their side when they get the ball on the overtime. He gets sacked, and then the next play he throws a good fly ball to the wide receiver at the end of the game. Cover two, look the safety off.
Two extremely contrasting plays.
Yeah. So we've seen that, but we haven't seen that in an entire game, because you look at it, he was starting the second half, and he struggled a little bit. He put some balls in great spots, but he still struggled a little bit. I want to see him face adversity for a full 60 minutes or 48 minutes or whatever, how long they play. I get all mixed up with the NFL and NCAA college football. But I want to see him face adversity for all 4 quarters. It's kind of hard to give him that when their schedule is playing Louisville, Arkansas State, Mississippi State kind of didn't play them well. Texas A&M played them decent. Lafayette, Arkansas, Mizzou, Tennessee. These teams haven't been good for like 4 or 5 years. Now you meet LSU. You meet LSU again. Then you have Citadel right before Auburn. I like how they schedule their, schedule, but it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to say, oh, we want to see him face an opponent that'll give him that fire for all 4 quarters. That's what I want to see. And I think LSU can give him that too. I said a lot of nothing to say that.
Yeah. Transitioning to Michigan, we were just talking about them earlier about, and I feel like we've talked about them 2 weeks in a row. Yeah. They beat Michigan State. Now they have Penn State at home. They're 7-1 at the top of the Big East standing. So pretty much, I'm just gonna sum it up. You still don't buy Michigan, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I don't know. It's just I don't know. Just Michigan.
It almost seems like until they win the big game against Ohio State, the perception is not going to change. Until we actually see it happen, I'm inclined, and you're inclined, to believe that Ohio State will still come out.
Right, because we've seen Michigan get on a hot start before, and then at the tail end of the season, they kind of fade out. And I don't want, because
they could lose against Penn State before that matchup, honestly.
Exactly, and I think Penn State plays Michigan super well, and Ohio State definitely plays Michigan super well. But they have a chance to win out before they face Ohio State. But I don't know. I'm really not sold. I really don't like their secondary. I really don't like their quarterback, because he's a one-way quarterback. He doesn't throw as much. He's not accurate on deep ball or mid-range.
He's opened up the run game, though, a lot.
He has, but coming to a defense that's stout, I think Ohio State front four can really disrupt that offensive line and that entire offense. I don't think they faced a good front four yet, or even a front seven just yet. And once they get that, I think they'll run into a wall. And we've seen that before. But
yeah,
it's even here, he did have a decent game today. Patterson, he threw 2 touchdowns, 212, and he ran a bunch. But I mean, I'm still not sold. I don't know why I'm not sold on him. Shortest
session we've ever had. Did we buy Michigan State? No. All right.
No. Hey, guess what? They need more.
Yeah, they need more. I'm going to tell you who doesn't need more is the amazing 5-0 Toronto Raptors, with Kawhi Leonard looking amazing. But I'm not gonna accentuate that. But
it's 5 games.
They look great. I know.
Are you giving them the NBA championship already after 5 games?
No, I still have the. Now you know what I said. The Celtics will win the East, but I do think the Raptors are right there neck and neck in terms of the Celtics barely coming out. But yeah, like I said last year about Chris Paul, and then this year with Kawhi Leonard. But anyways, we'll get to that later. But transitioning to the most interesting games of Week 8 in college football. There's a few games that are interesting. Texas, Oklahoma State, Florida, Georgia, obviously. I think the one what's that?
Week 9.
Yeah. Oh, week 9.
Yeah.
See, we haven't done this in a week.
Yeah,
Last week we had to take a week. We had to do a bye. So
so we got a bye week out the way.
But I think the game that's really interesting to me is the Iowa Penn State game, and Iowa, they have a really good shot of winning the Big Ten West, and they've got 2 pretty much pivotal games with Penn State and I think Purdue right after. So to me, that's a resume builder in terms of if they can beat Penn State and have a really good chance of winning the Big Ten West. But which game would you go with?
Let's see. Let's see. I like Clemson versus Florida State. And I say that just because we just talk about Clemson, Trevor Lawrence. You're big on Trevor. He had a great game at NC State, but he hasn't played Florida State. I know Florida State is not doing well this year, but it's still an ACC opponent, and Florida State plays great against ACC opponents in previous years. Maybe not this year. They had a chance to beat Miami. I think they give Clemson a run for their money. I like that game. I want to see. I think Florida State's front 4 can disrupt Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. I don't think the run game will work for them. A lot of teams really don't run on Florida State. They really pass on them since Derwin James got drafted by the Rams. So I just want.
Derwin James is on the Rams?
The Chargers. I apologize.
Oh, I was like, whoa, man, the Rams got it all.
It's LA. It's too many LA teams now.
Goodness, Lakers.
The Lakers, Clippers, San Francisco 49ers, Sacramento. The Warriors. There's a lot of stuff going. Sacramento Kings. A lot of things going on in California. But no, I think Florida State upsets Clemson.
Wow.
I'm saying it now. 11 a.m. Saturday, October 27th. ABC. Florida State upsets Clemson.
Wow. That is. I mean, and you were talking about how, rivalry games and conference games, can be can shake up like that. I don't see that happening, but I just don't. But that is a very interesting take.
Let me double check something real quick. I want to say if it's at Florida State. Oh, if it's at that stadium, it's going to be a great game.
Oh yeah, I actually think it is at Florida State. Yeah.
Oh, it's at Florida State. Yeah, Florida State for the win. Those fans are crazy. Those fans are super crazy. And it's a Florida game. Florida against North Carolina. No, North Carolina or South Carolina. Well, the Carolinas. Florida against Carolina.
Carolinas, California. We're getting it all mixed up.
Whatever. I think they're in South Carolina. They're in South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah.
Clemson and South Carolina. So South Carolina versus Florida. I'm going for Florida State. Upset.
Wow.
You're the first Wellington.
Wow.
When you get a text message from me, yes, you get a text message from me, I told you so. Don't reply.
I'm gonna get a text like around 2, and it's gonna be like, hey, that pick I made about Florida State Clemson? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I did a LeVar Ball, spoken into existence.
Oh, I hope they win. I do. I hope they win.
Transitioning to the NFL, the Saints, they're currently on a 5-game win streak, and one of the with the Baltimore. First of all, before we get to that, with the Baltimore game, Justin Tucker is like one of the most consistent is one of the most consistent kickers. I didn't foresee that happening. Did how much did that catch you off guard? Because it really caught me off guard. He's up there with Gostowski in terms of like one of the most consistent kickers in the league.
Yeah, and I think he kind of broke his record streak that he had, consecutive kicks made. Yeah, I mean, I have Justin Tucker on my fantasy, so that kind of like made me hurt a little bit. But no, it really kind of surprised me. But now, like this year, it's been a lot of missed kicks from kickers we think that are, up there, like Mason Crosby, Justin Tucker, the 5 kickers that played with Tampa Bay. No, it's just I don't know, because they moved the extra point back as well too.
Yeah.
Even further.
It's not as automatic, obviously. You know what I mean? It's just now it's like there's more suspense. Like after, I mean, the PAT after was just like, okay, like that's automatic. Now it's like, okay, he can miss.
Yeah, and I think they wanted to add that so it could be like I don't know. I don't know what the NFL thinks anymore. But no, I was definitely surprised. And my fantasy was surprised too when I lost because of him.
Yeah, took a major hit.
Yeah, a major hit.
But yeah, the Saints, they're currently on a 5-game winning streak, and Breeze, he has a 132 quarterback rating when targeting Michael Thomas, and he's on pace to complete 70% of his passes and 8 yards per attempt for the fourth time in his career. And they've got a couple tough games coming up with Minnesota, the rematch of the Minnesota Miracle, and then the Rams after that. But with how they've looked, and a road game at Baltimore, and I think that was the first team, that the only team Breeze hadn't beaten in his entire career. But a road game like that, in terms of the past, that's a game they would usually lose. But with the weapons that they have in Thomas and Kamara, and just Breeze having another phenomenal season, do you feel like this? Because to me, there are like 4 elite teams right now: Kansas City, the Rams, Patriots, and I would put the Saints in that group too. Do you think this is a team that can make a deep playoff run?
I think so. Just the way I like how they use their offense. They use a lot of guys in a lot of different situations. You look at Taysom Hill, which was an undrafted quarterback, and they use him well in the scheme. Sean Payton does a great job of bringing him in on, down the distance, like 3rd and 3, 2nd and 4. It's just a little mix up and bringing that different element to the game. And once you have Kamara and then you have Mark Ingram, that double head munch at the running back position, both guys can do both out of the backfield and they can block. That's a great. And you have Drew Brees. I mean, their offense is high powered. I think they're definitely top 5 offense in the league. And then you look at their defense; they don't allow much runs, averaging 72 yards per game. But the fell swoop, I say the thing that brings them down is their secondary. They have young guys. They have one veteran guy who's been there for 9. He's been 9 seasons in Kurt Coleman. But other than that, they have 2 guys, Marcus Williams and Marshawn Lattimore, only been in the league 2 years. And they're 28th. They allow over 300 passing yards. I think that's the only blemish. But they see that. They saw that. So they went to go get Eli Apple, which I think wasn't a big pickup, because if you see Eli Apple's play, it's terrible. He's the first-round draft pick out of Ohio State. New York Giants were really big on him, but he faced some injuries. He's not good in man-to-man situations. He's decent in coverage. I think they'll use him more as a nickel. But he's not aggressive. He's not a guy who's going to come up and hit you. He's one of those guys who has long arms to get his hands on the ball. But they needed some help, so they got him. But that's the only blemish, the secondary. But in this league, there's a lot of top 10s. You look at Kansas City Chiefs, they average 275 yards passing from the opponent team. So it's a lot of – and the Rams as well. They give up almost 300 passing yards a game. So the big team's going to have some blemishes, but their offense is so high-powered, it's going to be a shootout.
And against them facing Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs for their next game, that to me, that's even more concerning, because a young secondary going up against a formidable duo like that, that's really going to be interesting. But like you said, like the secondary, that's pretty much like the only major glaring weakness they have so far.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they'll still pull it off because they've faced some great wide receiver core.
So you like New Orleans over Minnesota?
Yes, because I don't know, just because of they're not going to run much, so I think that's going to allow them to pressure Kirk Cousins more. Because if Kirk is pressured, he's not as good in the pocket if he's pressured, and he makes bad decisions. We saw that with the Redskins. So if the run game is not working, it only allows 73 yards per game. So the run game is not going to be beneficial to them because it's led by Cameron Jordan, who's he's so low key. He doesn't get enough praise. Cameron Jordan, he doesn't get enough praise from New Orleans Saints. He's definitely a top 10 defensive tackle. I don't know why this guy doesn't get so much praise. But yeah, I think Atlanta has the best wide receiver core with Sanu, Ridley, and of course Julio Jones. But they faced some good one. They faced LA. The Chargers, they got a good core with Travis Benjamin, Keenan Allen.
Just say LA. All you have to say is just LA because there's just too many teams.
Look, I really want to say
I caught that. You were like, LA. Yeah, that team.
Because it's abbreviated LAC, and I want to say the Clippers, but it's the Chargers. And they played the Rams secondary.
Yeah, Doc Rivers is coming up with defensive.
They play some good second. Washington has a great secondary. I mean, not secondary, but wide receiver core. But no, yeah, it's LAC. I really want to see Clippers. Doc Rivers can coach football. I bet he can. But he's not going to be able to sit down. He's going to be standing up 100% of the time. But no, I digress. Oh, we have some technical difficulties.